again. This is part 2 of my subject earlier about overcoming your storm. Okay, as I said earlier about different types of storms, I did not include exactly what storms that we will face. Some of us more than others, but what I want to share with you are some of the storms that I faced, and even storms that I may not even face in my lifetime. But anyway, here's some that you may be facing today. You may have already faced it a long time ago, and someone else in your life, meaning your family member, friend, or associate at work, may be facing. Here are a few of them. Of course, I've named one earlier, which is an illness that I face. This has been an ongoing battle for me for quite some time now. And I'm still, currently in my situation. I'm not claiming it, but I acknowledge that it's happening right now. And some people will face opposition, pressures at work. If you're employed, you will face storms in your workplace. So I really can't even say who never experienced a problem at work. And if you say you have, then maybe you're doing something that we don't know. That's good. I'm don't say, I'm not saying bad. I'm saying something good. Okay. Some people face unemployment. We have a higher rate now of unemployment probably than we've seen in past times. Now I know back in the old days, a lot of people then wasn't as employed now because a lot of jobs then was not offered. And now what I'm saying is there are more jobs than it has been then, because then it was like you have a lot of people going around cleaning up other people's homes. You have a lot, of course, janitors, and which we still have that today. And you have a lot of babysitting going on, people working on the railroads, etc. But anyway, now unemployment, it seems to be higher. Now, I faced a time in my life where I was unemployed, starting at a young age. I guess probably 16, probably. A lot of children wants to start working, so when you have to go and get the paper, proving that you're of age, and you can join the workforce. But anyway, a lot of starting at a young age, you can become unemployed. Sometimes if you work for a temporary agency, you're only there. Some jobs seasonal. So after you begin to work, start working, you get all enjoyable, excited, and everything, because payday is coming. You got money in your pocket. You can go shopping. You can hang out now, and instead of asking people, can they buy you, you can buy yourself. Kind of attitudes, but once that time is over, and they tell you now you're laid off. Now what do you do now? So a lot of children all the way up to adults tend to get in their feelings because now their job has ended, and now they have to go and look elsewhere for work, which may not even come just like that. So that's another thing. And then some people are going through a lot of relationship problems, whether it be that you are dating or marriage. Um, Relationship could be not only marital or in the dating world, but you also can go through a relationship with your employer, meaning y'all was friends for so long or became, um, I guess, hangout buddies, you might want to say. But then when something goes wrong, then your boss is cutting you off, or you may be cutting your boss off, and then you have relationship issues with your parents, children and their parents. Um, that's not saying children like only the little children, but it's saying because we as adults still have our relationship issues with our parents. So relationship is not just defined with marriage, but other excuse me, other relationship problems as well. So a lot of times we tend to go wrong in those relationships. Sometimes if we're not doing what someone else want us to do, then that can cause an issue with our relationship. And sometimes someone making more money than you do, that's another issue. Or sometimes if when you come home and and house needs to be cleaned up or whatever, and nobody wants to do it because they work all the time or whatever. But that's another issue. But anyway, we'll get into that. And then you also have where times in your life where you will be disappointed. You will be disappointed. I've had many of those days. Everything to me wasn't a yes kind of answer. We're gonna have a no type day. I like that. We're gonna have a no type day, meaning you're going to have some days where the answer is going to be no. So you got to get ready for that, because everything in life is not always a yes kind of answer. You might say, Mom, can I go to so and so's house today? He only stayed a few blocks down the street. Mom might say yes that day, and then he or she might come back, Mom, can I go to the mall and hang out with my friends? Then mom might say no. Okay? And so therefore the child has already gotten excited because he or she can go to friend's house. But then their the face starts to look sour and whatnot, because now mom has said no, that they cannot go and hang out at the mall. So we're going to have some of those kind of days, and even down to our relationship with our Father. So that's another relationship, our spiritual relationship with our Father. Now, He don't tell us yes and for everything, and I'm a witness to that. When we got a situation head on and we needs to talk to the Father about it, sometimes he won't tell us yes, because sometimes everything is not at that time, and he knows what's best for us anyway. Now if he say, I don't think this would be a good idea, sister, my daughter, and because like if I tell you yes, then you may make a big mistake. But at least if I tell you no, then it'll help you in your discipline. And that's another good thing, discipline. We have to learn how to, as adults, learn discipline. Children, you're quick on, parents are quick on disciplining their children when they do wrong. But adults, how do children, or how can children discipline their parents? Children can teach their parents some things, yes, but then the discipline comes in line where our Father will start disciplining us. Because we can get out of line as Christians. I promise you that. We can get so out of line where we get too comfortable in our walk with our Father. Too comfortable to the point that it just seems like we're in our own kind of world. And a no answer is not something that you experience hear all the time. It's every time, like I say for instance, if say for instance me, if I'm a Christian and my sister is not a Christian, just using an example. Now say for instance, everything I ask the pastor or one of my family members, and I ask them something and they say, yes, Sherry, yes, that's a good idea. I think that it will be awesome. Now, my sister comes along and asks the pastor or mom or dad or one of her friends or whatever and asks a question, and then the answer may be no. And then she'll begin to wonder, well, why is it that the answer for Sherry is always yes, but every time I ask something, the answer is always no? Or I get more no's than she get. So there's another difference too, because sometimes we can get so, like I said, so comfortable, so comfortable in the answer yes, to the point we don't know how to respond to a no. And then you also have a storm of where people lose their loved ones. Wow, I've seen many of those days. I've not too long ago, we had to our dad, became, he was ill, and he had to go into the hospital. He had some times in his life where, his storms also was physical. He had, he was dealing with high blood pressure. I'm not sure about diabetes, but maybe he was dealing with diabetes because, anytime you deal with gangrene or and have to have one of your limbs amputated, sometimes starting at the toe, he had those moments too. But we buried our dad. Had our well, when he became deceased, I'm gonna just correct myself. When he became deceased, you know, we took it to heart. Not saying our boohoo's was very strong as when we lost our mom, but we had those moments also, going through these tough times. And, sometimes our relationships with each other, when someone pass away, our emotions are very strong. So when you're dealing with bereavement, it's a tough thing. It's a tough thing for people to handle. First of all, because it could be one of your closest family members, like mom, dad, your siblings, or best cousin, or what have you. Or sometimes if like I say in my situation, if I was to lose also um, my godmom slash caregiver, if I was to lose her, then first of all, I'll be losing a dear friend, because she's more than just um, a caregiver or godmom to me. She's one of my best friends, and if I was to lose her, then I would be losing a friend, and I also will be losing someone who's been there for me for quite some time now. So I try not to think about losing someone. I try not to think about it, but it's life, and I will have to get used to that. I'm not saying a death will come to my family every day, But death happens because, first of all, death is it is because of the curse on man. The curse that was on man since Adam and Eve. The Lord said, "The dust you came, and the dust you will return." So that was that was due to sin. How many know that sin has its consequences? You know, so that's where death comes in from. We will all get old one day. Not well. Let me take that back. Not all of us will see old age. Not all of us will be here in that time when Jesus returned. You have some babies that leaves the world early. Some leave the world before exiting the womb. And even some babies leave the world right after birth. After mom pushes them out. Some of them die. So we will face battles with grief, with bereaving, for our lost loved ones. And also, another storm would be persecution. You will deal with trials, temptations, and attacks from our enemy. Well, excuse me, attacks from the enemy. The enemy. So there will be times we go through so many storms. Like I said, some don't go through physical storms. You have a lot of people out there that's physically fit. You have some that has never been to the hospital other than when they were born. That's probably the only time they even had to visit the hospital. Now, I'm not saying they probably never developed a cold, not saying they never had a headache, never saying they never woke up one day and they may have had a sore throat or something. But I mean, as far as hospitalization, a lot of people haven't had that to happen to them yet. So a lot of people don't experience physical difficulties as others. But anyway, all those that I just mentioned are storms of life. Storms of life, people. Now, I want to visit, excuse me, I would like to visit Genesis. Genesis, in Genesis 21, all the way to Genesis 23, about Abraham and his wife Sarah. Now, this is, I have storms that they faced, but it was a big difference. Okay, the first storm was about not having children. Sarah being barren. And also another storm was when Abraham had to have his faith tested. Now Abraham was visited by the angel of God and, promised him, the Lord promised him that he will be a father of many nations. But Abraham probably feeling like, how am I going to be the father of many nations when I haven't even had a son yet, a child? And in the back of our mind be like the same thing when we first read God's word on about Abraham, and be like, well, how did he become a father of many nations? And we haven't even heard them speak of not one child yet. Now Abraham and his wife has already gotten old, and you haven't even seen the child yet in their early on years. But anyway, when the angel visited Abraham and spoke to him and told him what God told him, You know, he believed it in his own way. You know, and I'm sure, you know, curiosity came into play somewhere. You know, and Sarah, when she heard about that she was going to have a child, you know, of course she laughed. And the angel asked, did he just hear her laugh? And first thing came from her mouth was, I didn't laugh. But anyway, she kind of, I'm sure she laughed because it was funny to her. Like, I didn't have no child then while I was much younger than this, but now I hear that I'm gonna have a child and I'm old. Now, nowadays, we all we hear is you better have a child right now because when you get to the age of, let's say 40, I'm gonna say 40, then it's gonna be like hard for you to even give birth, or it may not even be as successful because you know how scientists put in our minds that, you know, um, old age is hard. You know, you can't give birth at old age, or if you go into a woman going into menopause, you know, or a man, you know, he going into his own problems, you know, and but Sarah and Abraham, you know, they were believers. But I'm like I said, I'm sure they had their moments of doubt when the angel came and spoke to them about they will have a seed. They will give birth to a seed. You know, and I may not have said that correctly, but you know, in other words, he did let them know this, you know, from God. This is the angel from above, and it was kind of, you know, and you know, when the Lord say He's gonna do something, He's gonna do it. So when He promised them that, you know, before after the promise was made, you know, we tend to look for it then. And what Sarah didn't see that it was happening fast enough, you know, she felt like a disappointment to Abraham. And because of that, excuse me, because of that, she felt like she had to give Hagar to her very own husband to marry so she can give him a child. And, you know, that didn't work out quite as she probably thought. And today, we'll probably think the same thing. When you lose faith in what God says He's going to do, sometimes we tend to act on our own because what we feel like we know best. So when she acted on her own and gave Abraham, told, you know, okayed Abraham to go in to marry Hagar, and then they can, you know, plan out and whatever they want to do as far as having a child, because she couldn't do it. Now she got this word from the Lord saying that she would bear a son, but of course it wasn't happening in her time. So because of that, Sarah gave Abraham married um, Hagar, and they bore a son. His name was Ishmael. Okay, now the thing is, now that Abraham had this child by Hagar, no child by Sarah. So is Ishmael going to be the blessed child of Abraham? But anyway, in their home, there was a confused home because you have not one wife, but you have two wives now. they're at each other because one now feel because she has this child, Abraham's gonna love her more, and Sarah without a child feel like maybe Abraham is gonna love her less. So there was a lot of tension in the home, and you know when a man marries more than one woman, there's gonna be tension in the house anyway because one may feel that he's gonna give more love to her, and the other one may feel like she's undesirable. So anyway, Hagar and Sarah got into their little bouts with one another to the point Hagar was disrespecting Sarah, and how Ishmael mocked. Well, this was no, this is another story here, but anyway, they got into their issues with one another. So because Hagar felt she was now married to Abraham, now she has more rights, and Sarah can no longer tell her what to do. So anyway, now this thing going on in the home, so Abraham has to have to make his choice. Either Hagar must go, or something's got to happen. But both of these women can no longer be around one another, and this be a more happier home. So that was one interesting um, storm, very interesting because of no seed, and they had to go through their moments of faith. And another faith moment was another moment I say of a storm was when Abraham faith had to be faith had to be tested. You know about when the Lord came and told him that he was to offer up Isaac as a sacrifice. Now, what father will feel good about when they have to sacrifice their very own child, their very own flesh? Now, Abraham didn't feel good about that. This is his only son given to him from Sarah. And you mean I got to go and offer him up as a sacrifice? That's like saying I got to kill my own child. So, whew, that's another thing. And when Isaac felt like, where's the father, where's the sacrifice? I thought you said we were going to offer up a sacrifice unto the Lord. And Abraham told him the Lord will provide them a sacrifice, an offering of sacrifice. And when Isaac didn't see anything, and then Abraham had to tell him the real deal, and then he had to bound him, because once you get up there to be sacrificed, sometimes you'll just take off and run. So he felt like Isaac could have ran, if need be, when he got ready to raise his dagger or whatever weapon he had at the time. Isaac could have jumped off the 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 altar, and he could have ran, but he didn't do that. He laid there, and he of course I'm sure some little things was running through his mind, but anyway, I thank God for this example that was put before us, because when when the Lord tells us that He'll provide for us, we have to understand and we have to trust Him. And there are also going to be times but you got to thank God. Like I said, you got to thank God for providing for us. We cannot be afraid. We can't fear. We can't lose hope. we cannot. We cannot. We cannot expect. We can't expect everything to always go wrong. We have to smile through our storms, you guys. And I know it's easy to say smile through your storm, but I'm one of them who smiles through my storm. I do. Now, I'm not saying I never get angry. I never like have this frown on my face. Not saying I never cry, because I do cry sometimes. I do look sad sometimes, but in my heart, sometimes you might look at me and say, Sherry, you don't look at all like you're going through anything. And I thank God for that, because I'm not gonna always show people how I feel by always having this look on my face like I just can't go on anymore. But each of those challenges, you guys, face them, face them with faith. Trust God and believe that He will make a way out of no way. Finances may be down right now. Your family, you're going through so much with your children, for the parents. And children could be going through a lot with their parents. Some parents may not be there for their children at the time. Some kids may come home to an empty house every day, not knowing where mom or dad is. Some families don't know where their next meal is coming from. I tell you, but it's a lot of crisis out there, y'all. Even down to the homeless. Homeless don't have to worry about paying any bills, but they do have to be concerned about where their head will be at when the day is over. So it's we face them, you guys. So just prepare yourself. But sometimes I'll take that back. Sometimes it's easy to say prepare yourself, but I can say if you get your heart right and your attitude, and you start trusting in God, yes, that's a better way to prepare. But other than the spiritual aspect of it, sometimes it's hard to prepare physically for a storm. As I said in part one, we don't know when a storm is going to come. It's just like today it may be sunny, tomorrow it may be storming, but we don't know the day it's going to storm. But I promise you guys, if you keep the faith, and like God has said, there's always a blessing in it. Always a blessing in it. And you look to the hills from where your help comes from. You will see clear skies one day. You will see, wow. And sometimes you will see a rainbow after the storm. So trust that. Look into the skies one day and know after a storm has come. If you can, look into the skies one day and you see from a